Tonight, Sadiq Khan's own party pile on the pressure to drop the expansion of ULEZ.
The Conservative Party candidate, 13,965.
Thousands voted to keep the Tories firmly in place in the Uxbridge by-election, and it was the Mayor's controversial proposal that lost it for Labour.
Would you like to say a big thank you to Sadiq Khan?
It's the expansion of ULEZ which has cost Labour this election.
What happened here in Uxbridge has triggered a huge headache for Labour. Now even Sadiq Khan's party leader, Sir Keir Starmer, wants him to have a rethink.
We knew that ULEZ was going to be an issue, and of course we all need to reflect on that, including the Mayor needs to reflect on that.
Also on the programme, chaos no more. Tube strikes are called off after a deal is struck with the unions. And Women's World Cup fever, excitement builds ahead of tomorrow's big match. Good evening. For more than a year, Sadiq Khan has stood firm against pressure to change his plans to expand ULEZ, but that pressure is now building from his own senior Labour colleagues as the issue was blamed for losing the party the Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election, where Labour had tried to focus on the antics and record of the constituency's previous MP, Boris Johnson. Voters instead were motivated by the Mayor's controversial plans to introduce a charge to drive in their own area. The Tories just about managed to hold on to the seat, bucking the trend elsewhere. Our political correspondent Simon Harris joins us now from Uxbridge. Simon, just how embarrassing is this then for Labour and Sadiq Khan?
Duncan, there's no doubt that this is causing a lot of soul-searching within the Labour Party, and the blame game has begun. Sadiq Khan must surely be feeling the heat tonight. This is the seat formerly occupied by Boris Johnson, and the big prediction was that Labour would take it comfortably. It turned out to be a much more closely fought race. Labour's Danny Beale lost by just 495 votes to the Conservative candidate Steve Tuckwell. And even the winner was surprised by what unfolded here during the early hours of this morning. Rishi Sunak celebrated the election of his new Tory MP in the unlikely setting of the Rumbling Tum Cafe in South Ruislip. Steve Tuckwell's victory in Uxbridge and South Ruislip was a tiny glimmer of comfort for the Conservatives after a bruising night of by-election results. The Prime Minister thanked party activists, and there was a hug for Susan Hall, the Tory candidate for Mayor.
Nobody expected us to win here, but Steve's victory shows that when people are confronted with a real choice, a choice on a matter of substance as they had here, they vote Conservative.
But the Conservative win was fragile.
Tuckwell Stephen, commonly known as Steve Tuckwell, the Conservative Party candidate, 13,965.
The Tory majority was slashed from more than 7,000 to just under 500. The winner seemed lost for words.
OK, wow. That's all I've got to say.
Uxbridge was one of 3 by-elections yesterday. In the other 2, the Conservatives lost, and lost badly. And many political commentators expected a similar result in West London. One recent opinion poll here suggested the Labour candidate was 8 points ahead of his Tory rival. A Labour victory seemed to be on the cards. But the Conservative strategy was to try to turn the by-election into a referendum on ULEZ. A tactic which appears to have paid off. How unpopular is ULEZ here?
Really unpopular. Yeah, really unpopular. Don't want it. I agree with the not going ahead with ULEZ, so that's why I voted for him as well.
It's no surprise. The ULEZ is such a big issue around here for everyone, really. But I think it's a shame.
Sadiq Khan's plan to extend the ULEZ in August to all of Greater London has already seen some of the new cameras here in Uxbridge vandalised. Labour's candidate Danny Beale initially backed ULEZ, but perhaps sensing the mood of voters, changed tack and called for it to be postponed. The confused message didn't help Labour's campaign, and senior Labour figures called on the Mayor to rethink his ULEZ plan.
Uxbridge was always going to be tough. We knew that. We didn't take Uxbridge in 1997, and we knew that ULEZ was going to be an issue. And of course, we all need to reflect on that, including the Mayor needs to reflect on that.
Would you like to say a big thank you to Sadiq Khan?
Well, it was Sadiq Khan's, pushing ULEZ into this constituency, which is what the residents telling me they didn't want. So, it's not the campaign that Labour wanted, and I think, it's the expansion of ULEZ which has cost Labour this election.
But the message from City Hall was clear. The Mayor has no plan to do a U-turn. So the big political question here tonight is, how do you solve a problem like ULEZ? Will last night's result force Sadiq Khan to think again? Helen Keenan reports now on the big bump in the road for the Mayor of London.
He's remaining defiant, despite his policy being blamed for Labour's Uxbridge by-election failure. In London today, the Mayor held his ground on his ULEZ expansion.
Is that what has led to defeat?
Well, listen, there was no ULEZ expansion in 1997, or 2001, or 2005. I'm quite clear, though, that every time there's a seat up for grabs, we should try and do our best. So I'm pleased there was a 7% increase in our vote. Disappointed, we didn't quite get there in relation to the win. We're 500 votes short. We've got a mayoral election next May.
With the mayoral election looming, his Conservative competition thinks Sadiq Khan sticking to his plan will hand her his job.
We will win the mayoral election campaign, I guarantee you. We do not want the expanded ULEZ. We've been telling him for well over a year. He's not listening.
It's certainly how some feel here in Ruislip. There were 4 ULEZ cameras here. We've been told they were ripped down by those who were angry about the expansion.
Sadiq Khan's plan to extend the ULEZ scheme to outer London has been divisive, and the future of it could now be derailed.
This carpet business in Ruislip has been running for almost 90 years. They barely survived Brexit and COVID. They think ULEZ will kill off the company, with customers unwilling to pay £12.50 to come to the high street.
It's going to have a huge effect on your business.
Yes, it will do. It's transformative. It means we're probably going to have to leave where we live currently because we won't be able to support the mortgage, and we'll have to leave the area that we live in now. I've got a disabled son. It means transforming where we are for him. So it's what seems small, because people who live in central London and who have benefited from all these things don't see the harm it will do.
But for others, they think it could be a lifesaver. Ruth's little boy was hospitalised because of his asthma.
I was already concerned about air pollution. I had an instinct that it was having an impact on his health, but this was really confirmed by the consultant that we saw. Vehicle emissions are profoundly dangerous to human health.
The Mayor says air pollution is causing thousands of Londoners to die prematurely. But after that by-election result, he's clearly under pressure over his policy. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
So, Simon, it does seem like the Mayor is now fighting on multiple fronts.
Yes, even before last night's result, there was no guarantee Sadiq Khan would be able to go ahead with his launch on August the 29th, simply because he's waiting for a decision from the High Court. 5 councils have asked a judge to declare his plan unlawful and force him back to the drawing board. Well, now it seems his own party is trying to get him to do that anyway. Emily Thornbury, the Islington South MP and a shadow Attorney General, said today that the party has asked him to look at it again. But the danger for the Mayor is that if it's postponed, the launch is postponed, then it would become one of the, if not the, defining issue of next year's mayoral election, and that would play into the Conservative Party's hands. As for here in Uxbridge, well, what was once a safe Conservative seat is now a marginal. Duncan.
Simon, thank you very much. Well, there were other by-elections in England adding up to the big political story of the day. Here's how the Evening News is covering it at 6:30.
Coming up, the national picture after by-elections that delivered one win each for Lib Dem, Labour and the Conservatives. Colossal majorities crumbled overnight in Somerset and in North Yorkshire. But the Tories narrowly cling on to Boris Johnson's old seat. We'll ask what it all means ahead of the next general election. Also ahead, we go inside the Bibi Stockholm, the migrant barge that could soon hold 500 asylum seekers, and
I left my heart.
The life and voice of Tony Bennett, the legendary pop and jazz singer who's died aged 96. So do join us for those stories and much more from 6:30.
To other news here now, though, and the disappearance of a mother of three a decade ago is now being treated as murder. Lisa Poor was 40 when she went missing in January 2013. She was of slim build with dark hair and was known to frequent Camden and Brent. Detectives also say Lisa was staying at a flat in Kilburn High Road, known to be popular with drug users. Camden Council has breached consumer standards, the social housing watchdog has found, as more than 9,000 homes in the borough do not have smoke alarms. It also found that around 4,000 properties do not have a carbon monoxide detector fitted either. And new tenants hoping to rent in London are facing average asking rents of over £2,500 per month for their homes. That's according to real estate company Rightmove, which says rents hit a new record during the second quarter of this year. Now, some good news for tube users after two unions called off a week of walkouts in the long-running dispute over pay, pensions and conditions. ASLEF and RMT members were due to strike for 6 days, but now a deal has been agreed. Divya Kohli is at Farringdon Station for us tonight. Divya, how are commuters welcoming the news there tonight?
Well, Duncan, these tube strikes would have brought London to a standstill for 4 days, so passengers are understandably relieved. The walkouts were happening because of a dispute over working conditions and were due to start on Sunday. But ASLEF and the RMT say a deal has been reached with TfL. The unions have secured protection of earnings and no pension changes for at least 3 years. So no tube strikes next week. Here's what passengers had to say.
That's great they're off, but now I've planned my week. I know other people that have planned their week around it as well.
I was getting worried because I was things I wanted to do with my daughter now. It's her school holiday.
I'm glad that the drivers are getting what they want. I think everyone deserves what they want in all these disputes. So yeah, I'm all for it.
When they're kind of short term, I think they're effective, and Londoners are really resilient.
Well, other walkouts will still be going ahead. There's a national rail strike tomorrow, which will include airport services. Another national rail strike takes place next Saturday too. And that coincides with workers like baggage handlers and ground staff striking at Gatwick Airport for 4 days, from Friday the 28th of July to Tuesday the 1st of August, and then again from the 4th to the 8th. So people are still being urged to plan in advance, especially with summer holidays approaching. It's important to note also that the General Secretary of the RMT, Mick Lynch, has warned this isn't the end of the dispute and that it's not a victory for the union just yet.
Divya at Farringdon, thanks very much. Still to come on the programme, we'll have the weekend weather forecast, plus inspiring the Lionesses of the future ahead of their first match in the Women's World Cup. But first, it could have been a red carpet premiere. Imelda Staunton, Naomi Harris, Brian Cox and many more all in town for the same event, a show of solidarity with the actors and writers' strikes in America. Despite it being a Hollywood problem, the shutting down of film and TV productions has consequences for the industry here. Andy Serkis, famous for his roles in The Lord of the Rings and The Planet of the Apes, threw his support behind those who are demanding better pay. He spoke to our reporter, Anil Adami.
One struggle, one fight, we support SAG-AFTRA strike. One struggle, one fight, we support SAG-AFTRA strike.
It's a different scene to the usual one seen in Leicester Square, when actors don gowns at premieres rather than protest banners.
The wages are one thing, but the worst aspect is the whole idea of AI and what AI can do to us.
But these screen stars are standing in solidarity with over 160,000 US actors and writers who are striking over pay and terms and conditions.
We have over 98% of people in this profession who are living paycheck to paycheck and having to supplement their income by doing other jobs. I'm in solidarity with them, and residuals really matter to them, and that's what's important.
Equity, the performing arts and entertainment trade union, is taking a stand with its sister union in the States, the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, or SAG-AFTRA. While they want better pay and fairer residuals for replays on streaming sites, they also want assurances against artificial intelligence.
To think you can get away with scanning an actor for a one-off payment that can then be used, to put in any film, in any production, at any time, is just morally reprehensible. It's totally wrong. The mid-range actors who aren't making a good wage on something, that's going to put them really seriously out of a job.
It's interesting because there are two big film releases today. So Leicester Square cinemas have been buzzing since I got here this morning, but outside it's a completely different story.
And it's come under the spotlight in the political world too. Today, the Culture, Media and Sport Committee has announced a new inquiry that will scrutinise challenges faced by the British film and high-end TV industry, including how the sector can adapt to the rise of AI. Back here, Equity say SAG-AFTRA have been offered a 5% pay rise, but that's not even half of the 11% they want.
It's about the regulation of AI, not the halting of it. It's about making sure that the profits that AI generates go into the pockets of the artists and not just into the profits of the studios. Are they going to listen? I mean, you stop production on multi-million-pound film and TV, they will listen eventually.
SAG-AFTRA are currently in talks with AMPTP, the Engagers Association for Film and TV Producers in the US. But will the actors' own stories have a Hollywood ending? Anila Dami, ITV News.
To the Women's World Cup, and tomorrow morning we'll get to see the Lionesses in action in their first match against Haiti. For people across the capital, it's a chance to come together and support a team whose popularity has not only soared but inspired thousands of young girls to take up the sport. Cafe Pata has all the build-up.
Yeah, we're not going to get... Well, maybe we do too.
With less than 24 hours to go until the Women's World Cup, Londoners across the capital are getting ready to cheer on their Lionesses. Here at Kirby Estates, the red and white has come out of storage, along with hopes of a tournament victory.
Yeah, we've got a really good chance of winning that. I've been watching some of the football, women's football as well, in the Premiership and all that. Yeah, we've got a really good chance, and let's bring it home.
A tad further away from Kirby in the host country of Australia, final preparations are already underway with a last-minute training session.
We're here and we have a dream, and of course there's always a chance to win the World Cup, and many more countries can win the World Cup, I think. But of course we're going to give our everything with starting tomorrow.
Back in London at the AFC Wimbledon training ground, Chelsea player Rihanna Blades is having her own training session, all aimed at keeping these possible future stars staying in the sport.
It's amazing to see just how far women's football has come, but the sad reality is that girls like the ones behind me don't typically stay in sport. Over half of teenage girls drop out, and the main reason being insecurities about their bodies. How many of you want to play in the Women's World Cup one day?
Yeah.
There we go. Are you worried that the way you look might maybe affect your chances? Do you have a bit of insecurities that the way your body might change?
I think because women's bodies change a lot more than men's do. Like men, they become more muscular, and women, they go through like puberty a lot worse than men. And I think it's different because women are put under a lot more pressure because every little mistake a woman makes is surfaced.
Because, for example, like women obviously change quite a lot, and like it's like not as equal as everything. Like, for example, men might get paid more and everything.
It's a harsh reality, one players like Rihanna know all too well. But despite these difficulties, she's still trying to encourage others to keep on playing.
I done a campaign for Blue Bella just to get more girls in football. It was called Strong is Beautiful was the hashtag. So I felt like doing that would help girls come back into football or not to give up.
This division of the sport no doubt has a long way to go, but right now the girls' focus is cheering on England and keeping fingers crossed for moments like these.
Yes!
Cafe Pato, ITV News, AFC Wimbledon.
Joining me now is football writer Flo Lloyd-Hughes. Welcome to you. How different does this feel to 2019?
Oh, to 2019, massively. I know, obviously, last summer was a huge breakthrough moment for women's football, and especially for the England team. So this summer is slightly different, with the tournament being on the other side of the world and not at home. But from 4 years ago, this has been a massive change, yeah.
In terms of London players, who are you keeping your eye on in that starting lineup team announcement?
Well, Chloe Kelly, who obviously scored the winning goal in that Euros final, she's from Ealing, played for QPR, played for Arsenal, a real West London girl, so she's someone that people should keep an eye on. She'll be probably starting as Beth Mead's injured on that right-hand side, but there are plenty of players who play for London clubs in the WSL. Millie Bright plays for Chelsea. She'll be captaining the team tomorrow, and she's back from injury, so she'll be really important.
I don't want to jinx things, but Haiti shouldn't cause too many problems, should they?
It shouldn't, but you never know. And to be honest, England have struggled recently. They drew 0-0 with Portugal in their final warm-up game. They had a behind-closed-doors game against Canada, which was also 0-0, and lost to Australia in April. So it hasn't been the best preparation, but Haiti, it's their first tournament. They're newcomers massively, so it should be a good win.
How optimistic are you feeling generally about the whole tournament and their chances?
I think it's very different to last year. I think people's expectations have shifted a little bit with not only the fact that it's not a home tournament, but lots of players are injured. Some players have also retired. It's coming towards the end of the cycle. Everything was so focused on the home tournament, and I think this time expectations have shifted a little bit because of that. But at the same time, England is still one of the best teams going into it. They're European champions, so there is still an expectation that they should get far.
You talk about that cycle. Do you feel like the next generation are coming through?
Definitely. I think, you see on that clip there that so many clubs are putting a lot of investment into the pathway, into the grassroots, especially some of those big London clubs like Arsenal and Chelsea. They have some really impressive academies, and England's underage group teams have been doing well in major tournaments as well.
Now, I've been reading your book this afternoon when I should have been writing, The Rise of the Lionesses, and it's full of really interesting facts. I had no idea the first official match was in 1895 at Ali Pali. I had no idea of the long, rich history, which that's part of the problem, isn't it? That sort of ignorance.
Yeah, and I mean, we know throughout history that it only gets told if people document it, and there's been a lot of archiving work done, but because of the 50-year ban that existed in England around women's football and women's teams playing on FA-affiliated pitches, it really left some of that history sort of lost, and part of the book was really bringing that together for a younger audience and also showcasing those trailblazing players who've worked so hard to tread a path for the players that we see now on the pitch.
Doesn't it just go to show how long it takes to change perceptions? Flo, lovely to talk to you and get your analysis. I'm sure it won't be the last time. And that match against Haiti is on ITV tomorrow at 10:30. Thank you, Flo. Right, let's get a reminder now of our main story in London tonight. And Sadiq Khan is under growing pressure to rethink his controversial ULEZ expansion plans after Labour failed to win the Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election. Local councillor Steve Tuckwell edged out Labour's Danny Beales by 495 votes. And planned strikes next week by London Underground drivers and staff have been suspended. Members of the ASLEF and RMT unions were due to walk out over the course of 6 days in the coming week. Both unions say a deal has been reached with TfL. Right, on to the weekend weather now. Here's Amanda Houston.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello again. Hope you've all had a lovely Friday so far. Well, if you are making plans for this weekend, be prepared for some fairly unsettled conditions, especially on Saturday. So it will be bright at first, but then we will see some outbreaks of rain in places, and those winds will strengthen for a time too. However, if things go to plan, it is looking a little better by Sunday. So the reason for it, well, low pressure is in charge of things. You can see here, keeping the UK fairly messy as we go through the next couple of days. It's driving weather systems from west to east, bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain. You can see the squeeze in the isobars too. It will be rather blustery. But then you can see on Sunday, the isobars become looser. That means that the winds will be lighter, and hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more in the way of brightness. Now, in the meantime, coming back to the rest of this evening and tonight, well, it's a mixture of some bright spells and showers to end the day, then some clear skies as we edge overnight. And that's going to allow those temperatures to turn fairly chilly in places. Lows tonight down to around 12 degrees. So for early risers, there will be some sunshine around first thing, but then that system I showed you earlier will start to spread its way from west to east, bringing a lot of clouds, some showers, and then we'll see some heavier rain arriving as we go through tomorrow evening. And those winds strengthening too. Wind gusts there around 35 miles per hour. So disappointing temperatures, highs there between 18 and 20 degrees. And then we will see some rain spreading its way across us as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday morning. But then once that moves out of the way, we're back to a mixture of sunshine and showers. Those winds should become a little lighter out there, and it will feel warmer too. Highs there to end the week of 23 degrees. Bye-bye.
Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Finally tonight, they were once unloved parts languishing in scrapyards. Now they're pieces of art going on auction. Artists from around the world have been using old bits of London buses to create new works, which are going on show at a gallery in Notting Hill before buyers bid to take them home. Daniel Henry has been to see the exhibition.
This studio is turning London buses into works of art, taking them apart and letting artists put their own stamp on them so they can be sold for good causes.
We use the money raised from this to help run social projects. So we have a refugee football team, we do weekly handouts, we have art workshops all over the world. But the idea is a full circle from sustainability to giving back to the community. We use such an iconic London object to offer to artists to paint on. So we've had artists from all over the world, literally all over the world, from Australia back to England and round again.
One of the artists he's talking about is called Slawn. He comes from Nigeria and his work has been sold in Sotheby's. Now he's using his star power to support this project.
Outside of me having fun painting whatever I'm doing, there's a little chunk of it that is going towards someone or some people or some peoples who might be a bit less privileged than me. So it's like, outside of me having fun, there's something actually helpful, not just to myself, that's coming out of it. So that's pretty cool.
The displays have already got this part of West London talking.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we see the buses like all day long, so there's no connection first of all, but then it's amazing that we utilize actually like existing materials, and especially with the sustainability going on at the moment, and it's a big topic, so great to see.
It's a surprise. At the same time, they should be done more often, because why not? Like, so many things like go to waste, and it's like a perfect mean to paint.
If you like the look of anything you've seen, you're in luck. The online auction for all these pieces launches today. Daniel Henry, ITV News.
OK, do stay with us because the ITV Evening News is next with Charlene. But from all of us on the London team, thank you for watching and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.